My wife and I have been married for 5 years. She's an amazing woman, intelligent, kind, and supportive. There's just one complication: she's asexual. From the beginning, she was upfront about it, and while it's been challenging at times, we've always tried to prioritize communication and understanding in our marriage. A little over a year ago, we had a heartfelt conversation about intimacy. She explained that while she loved me deeply, she didn't feel comfortable with regular sexual interactions. I reassured her that our bond went far beyond physical needs, but she surprised me by offering a compromise. She suggested that if I truly felt the need to be intimate with someone else, she would allow it, provided we set some ground rules. We sat down and established boundaries. It couldn't be with anyone she knew personally. It had to be a purely physical connection, no emotional entanglements. I had to be honest with her about it before and after it happened. At the time, I thought the idea was more theoretical than practical. I didn't immediately act on it, nor did I feel a strong need to. I loved my wife and respected her asexuality, but as time went on, I found myself wondering what it might be like to explore this opportunity. Fast forward to a few months ago. I reconnected with an old friend, someone my wife also knows casually through mutual gatherings. We'd always had a light-hearted, friendly dynamic, but this time, our conversations grew more personal. We talked about our lives, our relationships, and eventually about my wife's asexuality and her offer. My friend was understanding, and before I knew it, the conversation took a turn I wasn't expecting. I don't know how it escalated, but one evening, after meeting for coffee, we ended up back at her place. There was a charged energy between us. Playful flirting turned into something more. We kissed, and that kiss led to one of the most intense nights of my life. The sex was incredible, and in that moment, I felt exhilarated, desired, and free in a way I hadn't experienced in years. But the euphoria didn't last long. As I left her place, reality hit me like a ton of bricks. I had broken one of the most important rules my wife and I had set. Not only had I slept with someone, but I'd done it with someone my wife knew, a friend. I wrestled with my emotions for days. On one hand, I felt guilty for betraying my wife's trust. On the other hand, I couldn't ignore how much I had enjoyed the experience. It was a whirlwind of conflicting feelings: guilt, excitement, shame, and even a strange sense of relief. When I finally mustered the courage to tell my wife, her reaction was a mix of hurt and anger. She wasn't upset about the act itself, but the fact that I'd broken her trust by choosing someone she knew. She said it felt like I'd brought a stranger into her sanctuary, into our shared life, and she didn't know how to reconcile that. She asked me why I'd done it, and I didn't have a good answer. I tried to explain that it wasn't premeditated, that it just happened, but she saw that as an excuse. She asked if I had feelings for the friend, and I told her the truth: I didn't. It was purely physical, but I could see that didn't make things any better. For weeks, we barely spoke. She's a logical person, so she didn't immediately demand a divorce or start yelling. Instead, she withdrew, processing everything internally. I could see the pain in her eyes, even when she tried to act like everything was fine. I've tried to make amends in every way I can think of, apologizing, giving her space, offering to cut all contact with my friend, but I know words alone won't fix this. She told me she doesn't know if she can trust me again, and I can't blame her. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and I shattered it. At the same time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't sometimes think about that night with my friend. The physical connection was something I hadn't experienced in a long time, and part of me wonders if that means there's something missing in my marriage. But I also know what's more important: my wife and the life we've built together. So here I am, trying to figure out how to salvage my marriage. I've suggested couples counseling, but my wife hasn't decided if she's ready for that yet. I've also started individual therapy to unpack my own feelings and understand why I made the choices I did. The road ahead feels uncertain, and I don't know if my marriage will survive this. All I know is that I love my wife and want to do everything in my power to rebuild what we've lost. But is love enough to overcome a betrayal like this? If anyone has been in a similar situation or has advice on how to regain trust after breaking it, I'd appreciate hearing your perspective.